Look at this dude.
So, how's your day been going?
It's been going pretty well.
Going pretty well. So, yeah, how's school? I know you're in school, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
School's going all right. I have a midterm tomorrow, but
midterm tomorrow.
I'm
Okay,
prepared for it, so I
that's
should be
great. That's
okay.
great. So, yeah, this is Ali, and he's been my friend for a very long time. I would say, yeah, and we know each other, so I figured out we will just do a interview with friends, so it'd be easier to do for the first time. I would say that's our first guest, right? And would you like to introduce yourself in terms of the schools and majors and your careers?
Okay, yeah. So I'm a neuroscience student at McMaster University. In terms of my career aspirations, most likely I'll end up working in consulting or something similar.
That's great. That's great. Right, right. Okay, so, um, and how's McMaster so far?
Pretty good, pretty good. The program has a lot of flexibility, so it's a good experience, I would say.
That's great. So yeah, what's your relationship status right now?
I'm in a relationship.
Your relationship is stable, right? Both of you
Yep,
enjoying
quite
it.
stable.
That's great. That's
Yep.
great. Yeah. And currently, are you like, what's your residence status? Like, currently, are you living with your parents or, um, you know,
I think you know my residence.
I think,
Currently, I live upstairs above you.
yeah, that's true.
Uh,
That is true. Yeah, yeah, that is true. Yeah. Yeah, currently Ali's living with me and being my housemate, and it's been great experience living with him. And I think the purpose of this kind of interview is to get to know, because real estate itself is highly personal and highly individual on an individual level. Like, because we can sit here and talk about, like, I can bring up all the stats from MLS, from different boards, and talk about stats all the time. But in the end of the day, real estate is really different for each person. If people make rational decisions, then we'll all be robots, right? But we're not. We don't make rational decisions, and we do things that we want to do. And so, I would like to say, like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Toronto, in particular around North York. So,
Yeah, so North York. So, can you talk about a little bit about life experience in in North York?
in North York was nice. Relatively, I'd say, peaceful neighborhood. It has decent highway access. It's a nice place, and the schools I think are quite good. Very science focused.
That's great. That's great. So, what do you like about North York, and what do you like dislike about North York?
In terms of what I like, I think I like the peace and quiet, at least of most of the suburban areas around North York. I like, I think as well. Obviously, I was there when I was a student, like a student in high school and junior
Right.
high, etc. I like the school system there. I think the schools there are quite good. In terms of what I dislike, I suppose the only problem with North York is, particularly with the more suburban areas, so the further you get away from Yonge Street, is the lack of access to transit. Um, so generally, if you want to go downtown or you want to do anything like that, it takes quite a bit of time. Not so much the subway runs efficiently, but the problem is getting on a bus or waiting for a bus to arrive so you can get to the subway and then moving around from there. So that's my overall
Right,
impression.
right, right. So that's just city designs, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, because once you already built that city, then it's like you can't really do much about it, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, of course.
that is great. So, would you live there again?
I think I would.
Hmm.
Um, Particularly since I have a car, I think I'd be definitely be open to living there again.
Yeah, because well, the reason why I asked this question is because lot of people, I would say, they either don't want to go back to where they live, or they really want to go back where they live. And that's the two extreme. I find, because people either love where they used to live. It's like this. It's like where they grew up. They cannot deal with changes, right? Or they don't. They just like, I don't want to go back. Right? I just don't want to go
Mhm.
back to where I lived. Right? So that's the two extremes, and I think, like, and it shows the personal on a personal level what is this area of neighborhoods means to a person, right? On a personal level. So if you're thinking about like in the future, are you, of course you're renting right now with me, but in the future, is it still renting or buying?
I think I'd be probably, ideally I would buy a house at some point.
At some point, yeah, correct. Okay, so that's a good goal and mindset to be, because right now the reason why I ask is because a lot of people is having a pessimistic like mindset, and they don't want to buy a house, and it's like we have a good majority of people who are like that. That's good. That's a good mindset, and that's a good motivation to have. Don't you agree, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and what is your first home? What do you think about, like, what's in your head? What's your first home be like?
The first home, I think, obviously, with the first home, I'd be buying somewhere soon after starting out my career. I'd want it to be somewhere affordable, probably an apartment, something like that.
Yes, I agree. That's a smart choice, and ultimately, because this is what I like to tell most people is that don't just think about, I need to start out with a dream home. That's not gonna happen. Like most people, and if our parents' generation, they always started with a 1 bedroom, then 2 bedrooms, and then they upsize to a house, and then it's always to keep in. Because growing up the middle class, we always kind of expected, and we're kind of expected to live the way we used to live, and that's just not possible right now. And I think it's very important for us to understand reality is that we need to start out small, start with our first home. Then what is your like dream home?
My dream home? I'm not really sure. I haven't given much thought to it. Ideally, I'd want to live in a nice, I guess, suburban area, probably with a few bedrooms.
Few bedrooms, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, suburban areas, and is it like how far away from big cities?
I wouldn't say too far away from big cities. I'd want to probably maintain some kind of balance where I still have a relatively decent commute, like let's say no longer than 40 minutes.
Right.
Well, of course, obviously trying to balance that with affordability, but I'd say a suburban area that has some decent proximity to the urban core.
That's great. That's a good goal to set on. And so, what's your current take on the current Canadian housing market?
I mean, I'm not an economics expert, but I guess my only take on it is that I think the property values are quite high, quite a bit higher than they are in comparable developed nations, at least from what I've observed. Again, I'm not an expert in this, so that's my only real take on it.
Right. I think most people agree with that. The Canadian housing market, it continues to be one of the highest and one of the most overestimated housing market. Like that is, I mean, if I can sit here and try to put on realtor mask and tell people that this is okay, but this is not really okay, right? But but it is what it is right now, because it's the market, right? And then the sellers want to sell high, the buyers want to buy low. And at the same time, like we said, no house is the same. Every house is different. So that is why, like, you should, like, lots of time down to the earth, we need to look at house differently. But at the same time, Canadian housing market is extremely overestimated. Just combined with the fact that there are a lot of immigrants that are coming in, and combined with the housing shortage, and the fact that our economy is super polarized, where Toronto and Vancouver are the two major cities that take up most of the populations and economy. So that's why, and then at places like Saskatchewan and Manitoba, then their housing price is just very low. But there's not much growth there, right? So that's just the problem we're currently experiencing. It's not really good, but it is what it is. So what if not in Toronto, if you're not living in Toronto, where else would you be looking at?
Am I allowed to just list a different city in the GTA?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if not in Toronto,
Okay, so if not in Toronto, honestly, I would think about Mississauga probably as the second choice.
Right.
Just because it's quite similar to Toronto, it's quite close to Toronto, so you still get the economic dynamism, you still get proximity to a lot of job opportunities in both of those cities. So that'd probably be my second choice.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Like I said in my one of my YouTube videos, I said about Mississauga being a starting city. It's a starter city, so it's a very good, it's a good balanced city. And then I think it's quite rare to find such a balanced city anywhere. And what about a little bit farther away, like outside of Ontario? Like if we think about outside Ontario, then or outside of Canada?
Or outside of Canada, you said?
Outside Ontario or outside of Canada?
Outside of Canada. I think Boston would be nice. I don't know that much about it, but I think Boston, Massachusetts would be a good choice. I imagine the atmosphere, in terms of the culture, is probably similar to Canada, which I think I quite like. And also just from being there, it's at least parts of it are decent, quite a good looking city. So that's a place I definitely consider.
That's good. So yeah, have you talked about this kind of stuff like real estate with your girlfriend? As a girlfriend, right?
Yes, I have to some extent. Yeah.
To some extent, because a lot of time when I at this time when we work with people, there are lots of times when we work with people who are couples, right? We work with people who are couples most of the time, and lots of time they cannot be on the same page, and I think that's just I think we that wastes a lot of time, and I think it also it wastes our time or wastes your time, right? If two people cannot be on the same page, and then again, relationship and real estate. Real estate is like an investment, and lots of times, one person cannot afford it all, right? So it is. And then they say a marriage is an economic partnership, and that's kind of true on the legal standpoint. So that is why, when we talk about real estate, often we're talking about our family, and we're talking about family. Both people have to be on the same page. And I often hear people say "Oh, I can make the decision." No, you can't. Yeah, I can make the decision in the house. Usually the guy will say that. Sometimes the girl will say, "Yeah, he listens to me." Right, but she listens to me. But then you a week later you call them and say, "So have you decided on purchase?" Nah, my wife's not. When my wife's not happy about it. There's so many times where people are not on the same page with their spouse, and it end up being a very disappointing situation. So I think So I think this interview went really well. I think it's very good to talk with young people, and especially people of our age, about real estate, because the more our people in our age get into the market, get our foot in the door, the more we have a say in the economy, right? And the more we have powers. And it's better to keep that positive mentality to keep going and keep building that wealth and keep building that generational wealth for the next generation. And I think real estate is a very good starting point, right? All right, thank you for your time today. So maybe later on we'll do some more interviews with more better questions. This is the first time, so let's just start from there. All right.
All right.